Good afternoon to you. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com, here with your Hurricane Outlook and discussion for Monday, June 17th, 2019. Hope your week has started out great. I still have this little bit of a cold that I developed at the end of last week and early last week or whatever. It's just very annoying. You know, I'm not like wallowing in sickness. It's just annoying because who has time for a cold? So I'm going to keep this fairly short and sweet today. There's not a lot to talk about, as you would expect. In the month of June, things are typically pretty slow this time period here. The second third of June, this 10-day time frame, where do we normally look for development? The highest concentration would be over here. Look at that little thin red line. Let's just make it a little thicker there. Highest concentration over here in the Western Caribbean, Gulf of Mexico. But more so than that would be the Southeast Pacific, where things have been absolutely quiet. In fact, most of the globe has been very, very quiet this season so far in what we typically refer to as the North American or Northern Hemisphere. Whew, just not having a good go of it today, am I? The Northern Hemisphere cyclone season has been generally slow, which makes me wonder, will the Atlantic Basin here sort of take over once we get to August and beyond? Sometimes that happens. Sometimes it doesn't. You just never know. But this is where we typically look. The area off of Africa over to the Lesser Antilles in the middle part of June has a big blank as an observed history here, at least going back to 1851, a long way back. We haven't had any activity out there that we know of. All right, and that doesn't seem like that it'll break precedence anytime soon. As we look at the Central Pacific, things are nice and clear here. No areas in the Eastern Pacific as well. And this is pretty surprising that we have had nothing down in this area at all since the season began of any consequence, and especially since the forecast, the seasonal guidance from the National Hurricane Center and the Weather Service, etc., was for this area to have above average activity. And we've had no activity, so go figure. And of course the Atlantic Basin quiet as well. Not even going to worry about looking at satellite pictures today because there's really nothing to show. We still have pretty strong upper level winds cutting across the tropics for the most part. Again, you expect that in June. It's just not a busy month overall. And just real quick, going back to this map, I mean, look at that time frame there, and soon this will get extended out, you know, closer to where we are to include 16, 17, and 18. But this time frame, you know, not a lot happening, and you know this gets lit up more and more as we get through the next few months and beyond. So what I want to talk about is this, because this really grabbed my attention this morning. I got in the office here, started looking over everything. This is most recently updated just a few days ago, the subsurface anomalies for June the 12th. And look at what's happening. You have these two bookends of fairly cold and substantial anomalies down in the subsurface, except for this, which has now reached the surface. So we are now seeing cold anomalies, you know, departures from normal, the left side of the scale here, reaching the surface waters a little bit, you know, what do we call, about 95 degrees longitude out, getting close to probably 110 or so, out in the equatorial Pacific. And then that extends downward into the ocean more than, it's almost 150 meters there. Try to draw a straight line. This upwelling of cold water coming to the surface here has put a big dent in this El Nino event, and this thing is shrinking overall. And so we're going to have another, well, it's technically an El Nino, yes, but in terms of a significant El Nino, it's not happening. And then you have in the Western Pacific, instead of another area of warm developing like this, which usually happens down here in the subsurface and then it moves its way eastward, no, we've got this huge area of subsurface cold that is, you know, a couple of shades here. What is that, about 1 degree Celsius to 2 degrees Celsius below average, and that's a very large area. And so this has big implications on a lot of things, mainly that the Atlantic hurricane season is probably not going to suffer from an El Nino effect to any great degree. I think we can almost conclude that to near certainty. I would say it's a 90% chance or higher, because the majority of the warmth in the Pacific is really, you can just scratch this out because this is going to get eroded away, is really Central Pacific based, and maybe a degree Celsius if at best. And this is just one set of data. There's different ways to look at different data sets from buoys and satellite derived data, but I like to look at this on a consistent basis instead of jumping all over the different interpretations. And this has showed us what we thought. It's kind of like I said, open up the window, look out, see what the weather is doing. Forget the models, forget the plumes as they show different scenarios, or what does this model show. At this point, just look out the window and see what's happening. And this, my friends, is what's happening. We're losing the El Nino, that Central Pacific heat content really starting to drop, getting eroded on the east and the west side, and you can forget it. It's just not going to be a significant factor. And when I do the update later in the week, I'll probably have one tomorrow. I mean, these are going to be basically daily throughout the hurricane season, except when I'm traveling or there's just nothing to talk about. But tomorrow I'll show you the latest anomalies on the surface from the NOAA NESDIS. That always gets updated late Monday afternoon, so I figured I'll just show it sometime tomorrow. Anyhow, let's move along. Gulf of Mexico, I was just down here the other day in the Mexico Beach area, and it's pretty warm. Felt like it's about 82, 83 degrees, and this map here sort of shows how that all works out. All the green is 29 Celsius, and the, what do you call that color right in here? Sea green? I don't know, something like that. Blue-green, something. That's about 28 Celsius, and it's warm, very warm. And tomorrow we'll look at the upper ocean heat content. We'll try to visit that once a week as well, because this is the skin of the ocean, the surface. And the surface can be easily cooled down. You get a cold front to come through this area, some storms, a big complex of storms or whatever. And yes, you do have cold fronts that can come down even in June and July. And you mix this up pretty quickly. So what is the depth of that warm water? We'll take a look at that in tomorrow's update. Give you something to look forward to tomorrow. Off the coast of the Carolinas here, especially my area, Wrightsville Beach and Wilmington, where I live, this kind of weird greenish yellow color is 25 Celsius. A little cool for me. I like it 26, 27, 28 Celsius, preferable. And we've had a little bit of a cool pattern, but this is going to reverse pretty quickly as we set up a pretty deep Bermuda high, set up offshore and pump those winds around and bring up a lot more warm water, a lot more humidity. And we should start to see the temperatures along the shelf there in the Carolinas. Even down to Myrtle Beach, Georgetown, and Charleston, close to the beaches of Savannah, Tybee Island, etc. Water temperatures 80, 81 degrees, but it's only June. By August, they'll probably be in the mid-80s. All right, want to show you something. This is the group of folks that came out to see the film that I screened in Tallahassee last Wednesday evening. I took this picture, so I'm not in the shot. And you know what? It's so moving to know that these people came to see my film, my documentary, on the big screen. And some of them traveled several hours to get there. And I really appreciate the Boggs Law Group from St. Petersburg, Amy and Scott Boggs, excuse me, for supporting this and sponsoring it and making it happen. The theater, they're in business to make money, so they have to charge to rent out the theater. So, they're not showing the latest blockbuster movie while they're showing my film. And so you basically buy out every seat, and you got to get the documentary converted into something that'll play on their digital projection system, so forth and so on. And Scott and Amy made that happen. So very, very much appreciate that. Got to know some people personally, and I tell you, it's just a very moving thing to be able to share my work with them. And these people, most of them that are there, and you see in that picture, they went through Michael. In Tallahassee, of course, it's really focused on the Michael event, but they were really surprised, and I think also developed a greater empathy for what people went through in Florence. And so those two contrasting events, similar devastation overall. You know what I'm saying? You know, Florence is North Carolina's costliest hurricane ever, over $20 billion in damage. Almost all of it from water, fresh water. And then, of course, the storm surge, New Bern, parts of the Crystal Coast down towards, Surf City and whatnot. But Michael, a big wind event, a big surge event, and we even saw trees down as far inland, and you know this already if you've been following the stories, near Mariana and points north. Brent debuted a new quadcopter. This is the YouTube version, so it's low res, but this is Mexico Beach, and we're using the Mavic 2 Pro here that Brent has provided to the team, and so he's going to be piloting this. Hey, look, the quality improved a little bit. He shot it in 2.7K, I think. It's incredible. But this is Mexico Beach last Thursday, the 13th of June, and that's the bridge. There used to be a house there on the left. We actually crossed that bridge when it was collapsed to get back to pick up our cameras. And this is what it looks like. This is the legacy. This is 8 months later, and it's very slow. And it looks like this across a lot of the hardest hit areas. Very slow progress, and it just seems worn down. That's the best way to describe it now. It's kind of worn down across the region, and you can just feel it. People are trying their best. They have as good an attitude as they can, but this is hard. It really is. This battle against nature, these scars literally remain, and it is an ongoing struggle. Some buildings and homes not touched, some are bulldozed and gone forever, and this is what Mexico Beach looks like, basically today. You can see the remnants of some of those houses there, the blue tarps, the scars left over from the wind damage, which was significant, and it just goes on and on and on up into Panama City, Callaway, Parker. The results are very similar, especially from the wind damage, and we can't let this just fade away. And, everything must be okay down there. I haven't heard about it. Far from it. So I wanted to show you this video here. Look at all the work going on to try to get this place. There is no back to normal. It's just a new version, Mexico Beach, version 2.0 or whatever. Just incredible. There's the El Governor. It looks like they've done some work on the roof as we pass over. I thought this was really amazing when I saw it the first time. There's no way that's not a new roof. See that? If it's not a new roof, then whoever made that original roof, I mean, come on, that's got to be a new roof. Must be. You got to get the roof done before you can work on the interior, I guess. I'm no structural person, but seems to make most sense there. Anyway, that's what Mexico Beach looks like. Thanks to Brent, our colleague and ratchet man, as we call him, from St. John in the U.S. Virgin Islands. He came up with his family, and they came from Orlando and elsewhere in Florida to be a part of the showing there in Tallahassee. So thank you, Brent, for this unique aerial video. I'm going to make this public later on today so you can watch it yourselves in its full glory. Speaking of watching, on Amazon Prime Video, Tracking the Hurricanes 2018, people have been talking about this on Twitter and elsewhere. They are just shocked when they see it, especially the Michael chapter, which is understandable, and especially in that, the Mexico Beach sequence. Very, very positive feedback from people. I really appreciate it. I will continue to talk about this. It is important for people to see this. It's a great example of why we have to take hurricanes seriously, and what a great way to share it with as many people as possible. Most people know what Amazon is. You just search for Tracking the Hurricanes 2018, and it'll show up there for rental or purchase. It is also available through PayPal, and I can send you a YouTube link if you go to HurricaneTrack.com, my site, /2018. That's another way to view it, but most of the people are checking it out on Amazon Prime Video, and I do appreciate it. It also will help with the funding. It's not going to make $1 million or anything like that, but that was never the goal. I mean, that would be nice, but we got to be realistic. Just to help out with funding and a way to say, here is something important in return for your hard-earned money for me to share with you. I think that's not a bad deal. considering it costs less than half of what I would charge for a DVD. I used to do DVDs, but no longer. What a world. All right. Hey, I made it through without coughing too much. My throat doesn't hurt. It's just, like I said, annoying. Some congestion or something left over from this cold that I had last week. I actually lost my voice Wednesday for the premiere in Tallahassee. Brent had to read my introduction, and then miraculously my voice came back that evening after the movie was over, and we all went to dinner, a bunch of us, and it came back. But anyway, I'm getting there. I feel good. It's just I sound worse than I am. Put it that way. All right, have a good rest of your Monday. Thanks as always for tuning in from your side of the screen. I appreciate you. Whatever screen that is, if it's a laptop, an iPad, a Windows, Surface, whatever, an Android tablet, it don't matter. Maybe you're watching this on your big screen TV. It's amazing how you can view content. I appreciate it, and I'll be back with more for you tomorrow. I am Mark Sudduth for HurricaneTrack.com, and yep, we'll talk some more tomorrow.